Okay. Peace and shalom, family. Peace and shalom. What's going on? I'll give y'all a second to come on through. Give you a moment to come on through. All right. Okay. Live. Give me 1 second. All right. Sorry about that. Okay. So just give me a second, y'all. Let me just post this out. All right, and give you another moment to come on in. I want to say peace and shalom to true people of the Bible, Yahweh Israel, Azariel, Avia V, Chaya Allah, Zeph, Lisa Anderson, Santwa, Sean McGee. Shalom, y'all. Shalom. Just give me a second. I'm going to give y'all a moment to come in. I'm just going to lay this out real quick. Right. All right. I want to see if my usuals are still in here. Otherwise, some of y'all probably out trick-or-treating right now still until midnight. Maybe some of y'all went to bed early because you got to go to work tomorrow. You never know. You just never know. All right, so let's see. Let's see what's going on. And again, those of you who are interested on previous teachings on Halloween, as well as other holidays such as New Year's Day, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day, etc. I have a playlist where it's called Deconstructing the Holidays. Go check out that playlist on this YouTube channel, and you can get more in-depth information on Halloween and several other holidays. All right. So just want to lay that out for y'all. In case you're interested in more information today, we're not going to peruse too in depth on Hallows Eve, right, or Halloween. I'm just going to read source material like I normally do. We'll critique as we do in the source material with some scripture, and then from there we'll transition into our short Q&A and ride the rest of this out. All right. Okay, so all right. Now, before we get started, I want to show y'all a quick clip that will be in an upcoming video that I from content that I recorded earlier today in regards to others coming to my door and trying to trick or treat. This is probably the worst and the best place to come to if you're trick or treating. Depends on what side of the coin you're working with, right? But I'm going to show y'all a snippet of content to come. So if you want to see the full content, subscribe to our Patreon, www.patreon.com/DivineProspect. I'll also put a sample of it up on YouTube so you can get the short version. But if you want the extended version, sign up to Patreon and you can check it out. All right. Let me give a couple more shout outs. Shout out to Rodney, Frederick in the building. Shalom. Rodney's crazy. Shout out to Get Wise, Nehemiah, Sister Lynette, Souls of Our Ancestors, Tarek Jefferson, my brother Do It for the Nation, O'Shea White, Terrence Jefferson, Shalom, Shalom. Let's see who else is in here if I missed anybody. If you want to shout out, just hit 1. If you want to shout out, just hit 1. Right? Make sure you guys are punching that like button. Just punch that like button. Don't break your screen. However, Brown and Black Friday is coming up. So some of you are probably going to buy a new screen anyway. So if you decide to punch the screen and you break it, got about less than 30 days to go buy your new one on sale. All right. Is it wrong to do Cyber Mondays? Y'all tell me if it's wrong to do Cyber Mondays. I don't know. We'll see. They do be having some good sales, though. They do be having some good sales on Cyber Monday. You ain't got to leave the house and get involved in all that nonsense. You just order on Monday, right? Nothing to do with the holiday. Holiday's already passed. Order your stuff on Monday. Why everybody's going to kill themselves to get things. Now, again, last year, I don't know. Because of the pandemic, I know I was not outside during that time period. So I don't know what went down. I heard some stories, but I wasn't there. And I know this Thursday, I might go outside because we'll do a social engineering video, right? Probably go to a few places where people are online looking crazy, waiting to buy items. Now, check it. I was one of those people, so I ain't going front, right? In the past, I just love that adventure. I'm a very adventurous person. I just love all types of spontaneous adventure. I thought it was great to go out there and be in the hustle, the bustle of watching all these people act like primitive animals, and raging and fighting and, drooling and stomping people. It was just madness just to buy some items that stay on sale until Monday. Okay. And typically they have a hidden stock that they reserve for Cyber Monday. So I don't understand. But again, we know the history behind the so-called Black Friday and what was happening to our ancestors 350 years ago during so-called Black Friday. We're not going to get into that. We know the history about Thanksgiving. If you don't know, again, click on the playlist that we have called Deconstructing the Holidays, where we go in and we talk in depth about Thanksgiving as well, right? Really not Thanksgiving, it's Thanks-taking, right? But that's neither here nor there, right? Just like we went in on Columbus Day, Valentine's Day. None of these things have anything to do with us as a people, has nothing to do with our culture, has nothing to do with our history, has nothing to do with us. So to see my people get themselves enveloped in a cultural system that has been crafted and created to remove them from their identity, it's hurt my heart. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to figure out the best way to say it. You know what I mean? Being politically correct, but that's what it does. It's a shame. You know what I'm saying? And it's tough to witness that, but it is what it is, right? The only thing you could do is impact the pool or the pond in which you're the stone being cast in, right? The objective is, what kind of stone, pebble, or rock are you in the hand of the Most High? When he casts it in the pool, which is the immediate environment that's around you, and those who come within that boundary or that domain, are they affected by the things you say and you do positively? Because once that pebble or that rock or that stone is cast into that lake or cast into that pond, it sends a ripple effect that affects everything in that pond, no matter how far it is away from the point of impact. Now, the closer you are to impact, obviously, the more you feel it. But even the rifts that go past that point of impact is still felt in that pond, right? And if you learn about the physics of water and so forth, you know why that's the case in regards to conserving momentum, etc. And momentum, it wanes away over time, and depending on the distance, how far the distance is. However, other changes, subtle changes, are felt and shifted even by the animals that are in that pond, right? But that's neither here nor there. bottom line is, if people are going to be in your life, they need to know where you stand. And if you decide to envelop yourself in a culture, a reality, or mannerisms and customs that was not given to you, then you are the product of colonization and you are a victim of imperialization. And on top of that, they milk you for every dollar you have. They turn you into a perpetual consumer. That's the goal. That's the objective, right? A perpetual consumer. That's the new slavery, right? You're a consumer. So they're zapping that economic energy out of you. Actually, you're giving it up. So they're really not even zapping anything. But that's typically what we do. And then these times of the year, this is where we get to lie to our children, right? Because it's talking about Halloween. You lied to them by not telling them the truth about Halloween and get them engaged in festivities that have nothing to do with them, right? Then you do the same thing on Thanksgiving, make them think that, oh, it's just this lustrous meeting between the Pilgrims and the Indians, and they sat down in peace and just ate a nice, great meal. That's not what happened. That's only this much of a bigger story, but nonetheless. And then you lie to them about Christmas and tell them some fat, jolly man, right? White Caucasian guy with a long beard, okay, that's dressed in a red robe, all right, that's riding on reindeer, flying in the sky in a sled, and he's going to stop on the roof of your house. Wonder how that works in projects, but nonetheless, on the roof of your house, and he's jumping down a chimney with his fat behind, magically finds his way inside your house. You leave him milk and cookies, which the parents go and eat and drink, make the kids think that he did that, and the parents go and sneak gifts under the tree, lying to them that this fat, jolly white man in a robe is coming down their chimney, deliver them gifts after he's flying on a sled somewhere. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how that makes sense. But, you know, we tell things to our children, I guess, to get them in the holiday spirit. I don't know how this works, right? I got an email blast. This was last year. Email blast last year from a Christian church saying that they're going to have an event, a trick-or-treating event in the basement of the church. I don't know how that works because, you know, sometimes they do the Easter egg hunts and stuff like that. I'm trying to figure out how all this makes sense. You know, these are people who claim to be devout Christians, right? And yet these are the festivities that they engage themselves in. But when people choose to keep the set apart days that the Most High has prescribed in the scriptures, they look at you crazy, like something's wrong with you, especially if you're a Black person doing it. It looks weird. Why are you not in the holiday spirit? Why are you denying your children fun? That's the trick. They make you think you're denying your child some kind of benefit. It's not beneficial. How is that beneficial? Okay. Usa. All right. So what I want to do is I want to show you a clip of some of the footage taken today when trick-or-treaters came to my door. That's what I was waiting for. That's what I was expecting. And it happened, right? So let me show you let me show this to you real quick. Hold on. Let me play this clip for y'all real quick. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this. And like I said, if you want to see the full thing, I'll have a sample of it coming up soon, but the rest of it will play on our Patreon. Hi. What's today? Halloween? I know they don't celebrate Halloween, so I didn't even realize that. Typically, when somebody like this comes to my door, I know they go get my gun and start shooting. But since I know today's Halloween, I don't have any tricks or treats for you, but I do have the truth. We want to learn a little bit about Halloween. Yes, no, maybe so? Yeah. Okay, so go back. When you get time, you go home, go on the internet, research the Samhain Festival from the Druids, from the Celtic peoples, right? From the Scots and the Welsh. That's in Great Britain, all right? Take a look at it, look at the history of that, and see if there's something that you really want to do next year, okay? All right, y'all have a nice day. Shalom. Oh, man. That is hilarious. But imagine if this was a random day in which you went to go open your door after somebody then feverishly and persistently knocked on the door, and then you open the door and you see 3 masked individuals with Jason mask on, standing at your door. What is your first impression? Go grab the gat and unload. Not saying that I'm out here to shoot or hurt anybody. Obviously, I know that it's Halloween, right? But what I'm saying is, on a typical night, if I was to see that, it'd be some problems. First of all, I'll look out the peephole or the window before I go just open the door, and I'll make sure I have the heat somewhere close. So just in case I see this, in my mind, these are marauders coming to my house. I have a family I got to protect. Trust me, if you pass that threshold on any entry point in this house and my family is here, that is a threat. You will be shot, especially if you come unannounced, especially if you press your way in, you break and enter. That's just what's going to happen. I'm just going to defend my home. That's just what's going to happen. So what I'm saying is, this is a mindset that you're teaching children to dress up like this, to be mischievous, right? To disguise their identity and to go up to people's houses and say trick or treat. Because if you don't give them a treat, they give you a trick. And sometimes they egg your house if you don't give them something. Now, fortunately, that didn't happen today. The potential kids that could have done that was the ones that you see in that video, which were teenagers. So if they attempted to do that, they knew that this person probably has some kind of weapon on site. So maybe it's not a good idea to egg their house if he didn't give us anything, because I didn't give them nothing, as you see, according to that video. However, the rest of it will be there. Now, I can't say I learned for the first time per se, but in regards to it being typical, because I grew up in the Bronx, and in the Bronx, that is a vertical city, right? All our buildings are going from the ground up, right? And being that we went trick-or-treating from building to building typically, right? We didn't really go to too many houses on the other side of town to do our trick-or-treating. We only did it in our neighborhood around people and those we've seen, right? However, I was told today by trick-or-treaters that came to my door is that because my porch light was on, that was a signal to them to come knock on my door and collect some candy. Now, once I found that out, I said, oh, wow, that's how it works. Okay, so typically, I would just close the door. Turn the light off. I don't want to be bothered. But I said, you know what? Let me keep the light on. Let them come to the door and let's see what happens, right? Thought that was pretty interesting, right? Toilet paper in your house too. We used to do that back in the day too. So you're right? But once they saw somebody open the door and say, what day is today? It's Halloween. Wait, hold on, what? Well, typically, if I see 3 masked marauders on my front porch, I normally grab the gun and start shooting. But since you said it's Halloween today, I guess I'll make that exception. This is real life stuff that I'm saying to people in real life. This is real. This is random people just coming to my door. They got to know, listen, this is not cool that you come dressed up in a mask, knocking on somebody's door and saying trick or treat. You can get shot and killed out in these streets. What's going on? And then if they don't give you a treat, you're going to do a trick and you're going to vandalize somebody's house. And you think that's cool? Or they give you a treat, they put poison or some other stuff in there, or this person may be practicing dark arts, right? The moment that you come to the threshold of their home and you reach your hand in to grab whatever they're giving you, you have just allowed them entryway back to you and where your domain is. Portals are open on this night. This is the belief. And this is the most prime time to do divination, necromancy, and to communicate with the spirits who have passed. Because it's believed that they are prevalent all throughout your cities. See, when we talk about Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 7, where it says, seek the peace of the city and intervene on its behalf to Yah, in its peace you shall have peace. You can't have peace when you have stuff like this going on. That once a year you allow children to be mischievous, to go out here and do tricks on people, bang on people's houses, egg their houses, toilet paper their houses, do all types of wild stuff. And it's legal and they can get away with it. What you see in that video is that in my neighborhood, they don't play that, right? The police, and I'm going to show you, if you go back and watch the video, when I put it up, there's police all across the street. Police don't play when it comes to my neighborhood. They don't play. Police is there. If I was outside, they'd probably lock me up. They would even realize that I live in this neighborhood, right? But and for the record, I lived in a mixed community, right? So it's not all black, it's not all white. We have East Indian, we have Asians, we have Caucasians, we have black people. So I have a mixed multitude of people that live in my community, right? But nonetheless, in this area, the police don't play, right? So they made sure the traffic of, trick-or-treaters was moving along and that no mischievous stuff was going on. However, if I was back at home in the Bronx, that's definitely not what was going to be going on. It would be worse than what I experienced living out here in the suburbs here in Georgia, right? So nonetheless, the point I'm trying to make is, if you make it a holiday that once a year, that type of stuff is legal and okay and is acceptable in a culture or society, what kind of mindset do you think that's going to embed in a child as they get older? I give you an example of that, right? Now, a series that I watched a lot, and some of y'all watched it as well. Somebody put in the chat the name of the series. And in the series, once a year, all crime is legal. What movie and series was that? Let me see if somebody put that in there in the chat. Once a year, all crime is legal. One day out the year. Let me see if you know what I'm talking about. JD Israel said The Purge. Precisely. For those of us who subscribe to this way of life, when these holidays come, it's the sifting process. You see who's who, right? Also, and I'm going to talk about this in a second in regards to the vaccine mandates. And again, we have to address it. This is a whole ongoing war that's going on. See, people don't understand this. The war is to undermine the cultural protection that you are covenant with and owed to by the Most High. Psalm 91, right? If you abide in the shadow of the Most High and under the wings of his protection, then he will have the Melachim watch over you. When we went into that, talk about the Cherubim and all the other good stuff, right? They'll watch over you, but then he'll make sure no pestilence comes to your door. He makes sure no harm will befall upon you. And if it does, it's according to some kind of purpose he's trying to work out. If you truly covenant with Yah, right? I posted a video that I did last year in 2020 about a libation. That's part of our culture. Some of y'all get scared and spooked out when you see somebody pour a libation. For what? That's in your culture. Our culture has its own form of claromancy. You know what claromancy is? Divination. You know what's a form of divination? Praying. Prayer is considered divination. Y'all divine all the time. Casting lots, that's a form of divination. Sortition, right? You're casting lots and allowing whatever fate happens to be according to a force outside of you that causes everything to work together in a particular fashion, right? So therefore, either party that's involved in the sortition of these lots, right, are not benefiting because they cannot control the circumstances in which the lots are cast. This is part of your culture. So we have divination in our culture, right? There's no need for necromancy, right? But the scripture says that we can just go to our patron deity and seek him out for answers. Why do we need to go to the dead? That's not part of our culture. We don't need to do that. Other cultures, they do that because that's how things are situated in their culture, and that's their business. In our culture, if you identify as an Israelite, there's no need for us to do that. Matter of fact, let's get scripture on that. And we're going to go a little deeper. Let's get scriptures. Okay. Hold on one second. Things are a little slow over here. Let's see. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 47, verse 13. All right, 47, verse 13. Let's take a gander at that. All right, and it says, "You are wearied with your many counsels. Let them stand forth and save you. Those who divide the heavens, who gaze at the stars, who at the new moons make known what shall come to you. Surely they are like stubble, the fire will burn them up. They cannot deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There will be no coals to warm them or fire to sit beside. Right? And if you go up right before that, it says, so take your stand with your spells and with your many sorceries with which you have wearied yourself from your youth. Perhaps you will succeed. Perhaps you will inspire terror. What is this saying? The Most High is saying that those who come out of the covenantal boundaries that he has established with Israel, if you decide to come out of those covenantal boundaries and get engaged in these other cultures and their practices and their customs, then let's see it save you from what's about to come. That's what the text says. Isaiah 8:19, one of my favorite verses. When men tell you to consult the spirits of the dead and the spiritists who whisper and mutter, shouldn't the people consult their God instead? Why consult the dead on behalf of the living? Isaiah 8:19. When men tell you to consult the spirits of the dead and the spiritists who whisper and mutter, shouldn't the people consult their power instead? Why consult the dead on behalf of the living? Now, in some cultures, they do access what we call the spirit realm to communicate with their ancestors. Now, depending on what cultural disposition you have, there are different vantage points on what this actually is, right? Nonetheless, in the cultural framework of the ethnic group called Israel, they are told to consult their power that has covenant with them for answers. Why are you going to the dead? And we're going to see a little summary on what Halloween is, because this is nigh time for you to get close to those who are dead. To the law and to the testimony, if they do not speak according to this word, they have no light of dawn. So you consult with Yah. That is your divination within your culture. There's no need for necromancy, no need for medium, spiritist. There's no need to interpret omens. There's no need for astrology. Because, people said the Bible's a book of astrology. What are you talking about? What? So that is not our culture. Why are you out here trick-or-treating? That's not your culture. I'm going to go into scripture to show you what our cultural disposition is, why there's no need for us to engage in that. Because if there's any essence of that culture is something that is in opposition to what we are supposed to stand on, then we are not to engage or imitate the customs of those nations. That is a different nation from us. Why are we imitating their customs? And you still think that Yah's going to bless you? That's what you think? Okay. That's what you're thinking, that, right? And you do your little Halloween parties and trick-or-treating in neighborhoods where nobody recognizes you. You think you can get away with that and do that and think that you're going to come in. Okay. Cool. Hey, if you do, that's your business. I know people even try to work so hard to deconstruct Halloween and say, no, there's nothing wrong with it because of All Saints Day. Wait, hold on. All Saints Day is Catholicism, or what we call Roman Catholicism. Is that what you celebrate, you Protestants out there? Are you trying to tell me that you are co-signing All Saints Day? Do you know the saints are quote unquote patristic individuals who have passed on that is revered in Catholicism? That is a form of indigenous practice that the Roman Catholic Church has co-opted, but yet told the indigenous people, don't do that, but do what we do. Pray to some different ancestors that's not yours. Because in the scriptures, we see our ancestors invoke their ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's called an honorific. That's not worshiping these individuals, but it's an honorific way of invoking their essence, their history, and what they meant to the Most High. That's called ancestor veneration, not ancestor worship. Two different things. There is ancestor veneration all throughout the scriptures. It's there. When Christians pray to Jesus, that's ancestor veneration. That's what it is. It's not their direct ancestor, unless you're an Israelite, think you're a Christian. And anyway, that's ancestor veneration. That is a deified ancestor that you worship in. You're practicing an indigenous culture and don't even realize it. But that's neither here nor there. The point is that I'm saying is this has nothing to do with us as a people, but y'all still engaging in it. Why? Does that make any sense? The scriptures tell you there's no need for you to get involved in that. But you see, this holiday is a co-opting of not just the Samhain festival or sowing festival of the Celts. And I broke down on my post who the modern day Celts are: the Irish, the Welsh, the Scots, etc. These are the modern day Celts, or what they call the Celtic nations. That's their culture. And these Celtic nations were converted to Christianity. That's not their indigenous culture. Christianity ain't indigenous to nobody. It's not. Who was it indigenous to? It was a movement that launched from out of the Yehudim of the 1st century AD. Matter of fact, I have a book on the Patreon, From Jesus to the Church. Excellent book. Y'all need to read that. Because you're going to see that this movement was considered a form of Judaism before it was co-opted. But I know you don't want the history of it. It's okay. I understand. I got you. All right. So anyway, that's a little tidbit. Let's get to our regularly scheduled program. Let me behave. All right. So in regards to the letters that we have given out in regards to the religious exemption for the COVID-19 vaccine, we have consulted and interviewed several individuals who have sent requests to ensure that we can assist them with cultivating a letter that best expresses their disposition in regards to their religious beliefs, to be able to convey in a manner in which is acceptable to the employer. And so far, the majority of letters that we've given out, which is over 50 letters that we've given out, I lost count to what number we're at now. Over 50 letters that we've given out. I would say the majority of those letters, we've got a thumbs up, success. However, we have two denials. The first denial, we found a workaround, so that person's okay. The second one, we're still trying to help and assist them because the job is being unfair and unrealistic, and they're being very vague in their response. So we're trying to probe them for more information. This is a whole war, right? We don't want people to lose their jobs. I have an interview with somebody tomorrow who also needs some further assistance in this regard as well. If you also need assistance, there's a link down below that you can click on for the religious exemption, and we can get the process started for you as well. All right, because we're fighting on many fronts. All right. All right. All right. Let's keep going. All right. So recently also, there's these two books here. Wonderful, wonderful books for those of you who are students of the language. What I will say is, if you're not familiar with the language, this is going to be quote unquote Greek to you. You're not going to know what the heck is going on, right? However, because I'm a student of the language, I said I wanted to get this book because I want a book that is cohesive, that brings together all of the recent scholarship in the advances of the Greek. And we're going to deal with the New Testament manuscripts, as well as biblical Hebrew and Aramaic, and put it all in one source, right? All the arguments, the consensus and everything in one source. And it makes it easy to catch up with it, because a lot of things that I see that a lot of people that's teaching these languages, they're still far behind. They're about 10, 15 years behind what recent scholarship is. And what I'm going to do is, once I complete these books, because a lot of the content in here and a lot of these sources that they reference in here, I'm familiar with, but I've never seen it put in one place and compared and contrasted like this. These books is awesome, right? Once I finish it, what I want to do is I want to do a session where I go through the content in here, right? For those of you who want to go to the language. Now, if you want to begin in the language, there's sources, right? Resources, right? Let me go ahead and show you these resources. Show you the resources. Get you plugged in. All right. First up, you want to make sure you get yourselves these two books here, because one of the issues with learning the language is the ignorance of understanding English grammar. And a lot of times when you don't understand English grammar, you don't know how to translate constructs from English to constructs of biblical Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. So these two books get you to understand English grammar and how it's comparable to these languages. All right, that's the first source. Okay. All right. The next source is, once you finish with that, you want to get you this book right here, or these series of books, CDs, and workbooks called Greek and Hebrew for the Rest of Us Pack. Textbooks, videos, lectures, and laminated sheet. You only get the laminated sheet for the Greek. Very biased towards the Greek, right? Nonetheless, why do you want to get this? Because this is for complete laymen that know nothing about the language. And the objective is to introduce you to foundational and functional Greek and biblical Hebrew. And once you get that down pat, then you want to take the standard biblical Hebrew and standard New Testament Greek courses. And that's these two here, right? The one by Miles Van Pelt for the biblical Hebrew, and William D. Mouse. William D. Mouse also has a lexicon, which is excellent, right? And if you guys are on the Patreon, you can download the Accordance software and the Logo software, the paid version that we have on there, and get access to some of these lexicons, right? Now, once you go through this stuff and you are familiar with that, and again, I'm trying to show you a progression of various stages to go through if you really want to get into the language, because I'm an advocate for the literacy of original languages. However, I don't beat it on people's head, right? Pause. I don't beat people over the head with it and say, hey, you have to do this, you have to do that, you must learn that, because that's not what this ministry is about. That's not what this program is about, right? We deal with things holistically. We deal from a cultural perspective, and language is one element of culture. It's not the sole element of culture, right? Hence why I try to share with people certain books like this one right here, Pre-Exilic Israel, the Hebrew Bible and Archaeology, Integrating Text and Artifact, how it shows you that you cannot interpret a text solely based off of language. You need other existential data, such as artifacts, understanding sister cultures and languages, etc. Okay? And this book is excellent. It goes into Joshua chapter 2, verse 15 to give you a great example on how when you're able to mesh archaeology with the text, you're able to get a wider vantage point of what's going on, and enables you to better reconstruct the events of the past in regards to our ancestors and their culture and the events that occurred to them, right? Okay. So then after that, this is the next step. I'll show you the next step right here. And this is your next step. After you get through all of that and you are serious about your linguistic studies, here's the next step that you want to go to. Let me show it to you. All right. I'm going to drop the link for this in the chat, and I've been sharing this for several years now. All right. Let me broaden my screen. Okay. This is the Israel Institute of Biblical Study. Bible, join live online classes of biblical studies. All right. Now, also on our Patreon, we have the biblical Hebrew and biblical Greek for laymen, right? So we have those courses on there as well that will introduce you to the language. But if you're serious about learning the language, what you want to do is go to this site, because this site gives you 3 college courses, and they give you a certificate, an authentic certificate from a university saying that you completed a college course and you get 3 credits. All right. You can't get this from learning Hebrew from no random person in our community, right? And no shot to the people that's teaching Hebrew in our community. What I'm saying is they can't confer upon you 3 college credits and a college certificate that can go on your resume. Okay. So this is important, right? So I'm referring you to the OGs of this thing, right? Not the underlings, the OGs of this, so you can be authenticated in your understanding of the language. See, I don't come on here, me personally, it's just me, and brag about how much Hebrew I know, how much Aramaic I know, Greek I know. I've demonstrated it in the past, and I will continue to demonstrate it from time to time if need be, depending on the circumstance. And those of you who follow me on Clubhouse have seen me break it down and go in, right? But the point I'm trying to make is, for everybody, sometimes this could be overwhelming. For my audience here, everybody here is not on that level, right? We have people from as young as 5, 6 years old that watches this, all the way to somebody in a couple people I know in their 80s and 90s, right? They're probably the elders probably will never learn the language, right? But if I explain something about it, I can break it down and make it very clear. So my objective is not to overwhelm you with all the technicalities of language. For example, I'll show you something, for example, right? When we get into the Greek, right? Check it out. Let me show this to you. You see that? Dependency in the middle voice. Do y'all know what that is? Hold on. This is too close to the camera. There we go. All right. Linguistic theories. Idiolect, genre, and register. Verbal aspect and exegesis. Right? Verbal aspect and action start. If I was to come on here and just start talking about all of these things, nobody would know what I'm talking about. They wouldn't. If I go into biblical Hebrew, for example, and I go into right here on chapter 8, which I enjoyed, register, dialect, style shifting, and code switching. Would anybody know what I'm talking about? Word order, you may. This right here, chapter 9, is my favorite, dating biblical Hebrew and biblical Aramaic texts. Right? Going into tense, aspect, and mood, and then diving into discourse analysis. Okay? Tense prominent theories, aspect prominent theories, mood prominent theories, and functional theories, right? Tense, aspect, and mood in biblical Aramaic. Then we go into several scholars, leading scholars, experts in the field, and the innovation that they have brought to the field in the advancement of the language. I love this stuff. I mean, I got books and articles just on language alone, and I'm still trying to wrap my mind around a lot of this stuff, right? Because I'm still a student of the language. I know a good deal, but I'm still a student of the language, right? So what I try to do is try to give people the same resources by showing them the stuff that I use or that I've used and the things that I've suggested to help bring them further along in the language, because literacy is important, but not just literacy by itself. It's also good to learn another biblical language or language that's associated or similar to the Bible, such as Ugaritic or Syriac. Syriac and Ugaritic, so Ugaritic is the name of the actual city, but Ugaritic and Syriac, that I believe that if you learn that, it broadens the knowledge that you have when it pertains to the Hebrew language. Let me give you a great example of that, right? This book right here called the Rephaim, Sons of the Gods by Jonathan Yogev, right? And some of you may have seen me post this on social media, right? But going here, we want to find out who the Rephaim is, okay? Who's the Rephaim, okay? So what they do is they go into the Ugaritic evidence, the Phoenician evidence, and look at sources from both of those cultures. And then from there, at the bottom, they dive into the biblical evidence, which means you need to know sister cultures, because certain cognates of a word or idiom or phrase are found in other cultures. Now, again, that could be a gloss as it pertains to biblical Hebrew or New Testament Greek. However, it could be a gloss to it. However, the usage of it in that culture may not be the exact same usage of it in our culture. However, it does broaden the scope because Israel was not in a vacuum and that they were adjacent to other sister cultures, and therefore influence went both ways. We know that because even the dating, the chronological dating of the development of archaic Hebrew, standard Hebrew, and late biblical Hebrew is all based on looking at changes of evolution internally and externally within the language. Excellent examples of that, such as analyzing certain suffixes, word order, etc. So the objective is to provide resources and tools to get everybody up to this level of understanding. Hence why my long-awaited class is still baking. It's almost done. Promise you, it's almost done. I'm devote a whole week with no distractions, and I'm just going to knock it out so I can start the classes, because when we do the classes, we look at everything holistically, and I give you all of the resources. You're not going to be fully dependent on me, right? I'm going to give you all the resources. I'm the coach. The coach is not going to play the game for you. You can't do that. All he can do is teach you how to practice and show you how to perform the plays. That's it. The rest is up to you. The rest is up to you. A player is not going to get in the game, start dribbling, and about to take a shot, say, ref, timeout. Coach, can you come in and do this for me? Nah. You got to handle that. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So anyway, so over time, what I will do on this channel, for those who are interested in the language, I will touch on it from time to time. But as I do it, I will share all the resources so you can invest in it. For example, like this book right here is almost $150 for this book. This one right here. This book was published in 2020. It's a recent book, published in 2020, right? There's no digital format, because if there was a digital version, I would purchase it, add it to my library, and you can stream and read, right? But there is none that exists that I know of, right? But when it does, then Patreon, you'll get first dibs, okay? Everybody else, you may have to actually go buy this book. And this is a very rare book. There's not a lot of copies of this book left, but it's about $150. I don't play when it comes to investing in knowledge, but knowledge is only as good as its application. And not just regular application, but righteous application that yields the intended results, that keeps you in harmony and alignment with the will of the Creator. There's a means to an end. So that's why I don't mind investing. So a good example, understanding with refa or rafa. What does refa or rafa mean in Hebrew? Let me give you an example. Some of this is in a theophoric name of a particular divine messenger. What divine messenger has Refa in his name? Let me see if y'all get into that. So, Zeph, when you say ancient archaic Hebrew symbols, are you talking about the pictographs that the Paleo Hebrew developed from? Is that what you're referring to when you say that? Scott Garrett Headley, you got it. Raphael. Some say Raphael. So the root word Rapha is interesting. I was just going over on the Sabbath, my family, Psalm 147. Let's go to Psalm 147 real quick. Tonight, we're not entertaining the trolls. We're just teaching tonight. All right. And again, I know y'all came for Halloween. I'm going to deliver. Trust me. I always do. Right. Here we go. Now, typically, we'd have way more people than this, but I know people are tired from trick-or-treating. So you're probably at home sleeping right now. You can't tune in. It's all good. That's your business. All right. Still going to deliver the truth for you. All right. Psalm 147. Let's zoom in. Praise Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh For it is good to sing praises to Eloheka, our power, for it is pleasant, and a song of praise is fitting. Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh builds up Jerusalem. He gathers the outcasts of Israel. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Key word is heal. Let's go into that. Right? He heals the brokenhearted. This resource here, you want to go up here and tap on interlin, which stands for interlinear, and go down and you can look up the word for heals right here, ha-rofe, right? Ha-rofe. Ha, Yehe, Chametz, Resh, Cholam, Pe, Zere, Aleph. Now, when we're going to look at what we call verbs, in this case, Rafe, this is called a weak verb. Why? Because the suffix has an Aleph in it. Okay? And this means to heal, right? That's the standard Kal stem, active voice, right? And the other translations for it could become refreshed, completely healed, healing, physician, if it's a verbal noun, purified, repaired, take care of, right? So when we look at that root word, Rafa, it means to heal, to repair. That's why if you did not know what that, if you came across this word, harofe, and didn't know what it meant, but you understand the word brokenhearted and binds and wounds, you'll say, okay, this must have something to do with some kind of healing or repairing. This is what the Most High does with us. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. He builds up Jerusalem and he gathers the outcasts of Israel. He lifts up the humble and casts the wicked to the ground. He covers the heavens with clouds. He prepares rain for the earth. He makes grass to grow in the hills. He gives to the beasts their food, and to the young ravens that cry. His delight is not in the strength of the horse, nor his pleasure in the legs of man, but the Most High takes pleasure in those who revere him, and in those whose hope in his steadfast love. You know, Christians will tell you that love, God being love, is in the New Testament. No, it's all throughout the Tanakh. Okay. He is a provider. He is a healer. He is a protector. He is a sustainer. This is what the Most High is. But here's the thing, right? This word here, if you go down to verse 19, it says, actually, let's stay at 19. He declares his word to Yaakov, his statutes and rules to Yisrael. He has not dealt thus with any other nation. They do not know his rules. When you see a little small letter here, that's called a footnote. You click on that, and it says, or his just decrees. Praise Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh. Hallelujah. Right? Or we say hallelujah. Praise the Most High. Key thing. He declares his word to Yaakov. This word is for Yaakov, and his statutes and rules is for Israel. He has not dealt thus with any other nation. They do not know his just decrees. When Israel fell, we opened the door for the nations to come in and learn about our culture, starting with the Septuagint or Pentateuch, which is the Greek translation of a Hebrew copy of the scriptures. We open the door and allow the Gentiles to come in and begin to examine our culture. And then since then, now all the nations have played around with this text. So what Yah's doing these last days in awakening the remnant, raising us up, is for us to claim back our inheritance. The word is for Yisrael. And for those of you who are New Testament Christians or Israelites, let's go to Romans chapter 3. Then what advantage has the Jew? Or what is the value of circumcision? Much in every way. To begin with, the Jews were entrusted with the oracles of God. What if some are unfaithful? Does their faithlessness nullify the faithfulness of the Most High? By no means. That the Most High be true and every man's a liar, as it is written, that you may be justified in your words and prevail when you are judged. Here is the advantage that we have as Israel, that the Most High has entrusted his word to us, which is an echo from what we just read in Psalms 147. We have to get back to reconstructing and restoring our culture and applying it in our contemporary environment so we can repair the problems that we experience in our communities, so we can create a Goshen that is awaiting for the judgments to pass so we can meet our Creator. Are you back in position? See, getting involved in Halloween is a distraction from this. Christians that are subverting the gospel, which starts in Isaiah chapter 52, which goes to Zion, the children of Israel, and benefactors of that, or those who get the byproduct of that, are the cleaving Gentiles, right? The key thing is, when we get back into a rightful position, then he can lift us up above so we can see the things that are to come. When you lift you above, he puts you on the wall as a watchman so you can see everything that is going on. See? Okay. He told Israel, don't be haughty. You're not getting this land because you're nobody special. But you're getting it because I made a covenant with your forefathers. And I'm going to use you to eradicate the wickedness in this land. Okay. All right. Will been here, Brother Vaughn. Can you still see that super chat? I was just trying to get your take on Psalm 19:13 and Masoretic text versus the LXS. Psalm 18 and 13 is what you would say in LXS. Thank you for the donation, my brother. I'm sorry if I overlooked that. My apologies. I'm gonna try to address that tonight. I can't promise that I will. If I don't address it, then I'll probably do a post on it, all right, and address it for you, all right. All right. Well, matter of fact, let me just show it on the screen so people can see what you're talking about. And you wanna look at what? Textual variance? Is that what you're concerned with? Keep back your servant also from presumptuous sins. Let them not have dominion over me. Then I shall be blameless and innocent of great transgression. So if we was to look that up, I'll give you a good source for the LXX. If it loads up, everything is moving slow today. All right, I'm gonna drop the source in the chat for you all so you can follow along if you want to look this up in the Septuagint. And put it on the screen so y'all can see it. All right, here you go. And let's go down to Psalms. Right here. Right here we have the Greek here. We have the interlinear here. And when you highlight the Greek word, you can look at the lexicon, its inflection, and you can close it, right? This is in a neuter. It's a third declension. We can tell by looking at this right here. Oh, let me close this. The suffix right here. Alex Tau. Hold on. Alpha Tav Alpha, right? This is your suffix here. So we can look at the declension has to do with the inflection, or I mean, so you have hold on, let me close that out. Let me pull this up for you. There we go. All right, so you have inflections in regards to your verbs and declensions in regards to your nouns. All right, so this is in this third declension. Now, if you want to know what third declension is, this is why it's good to have these resources right here that I showed you earlier. So you ain't got to take nobody's word for it. You can look up what a third declension is. Let me show you an example. All right. Let me go back to the screen. Right here. Your third declension summary hints. Right. And something called the 8 noun rules. And then you see the suffix endings over here. And it gives you more information on what's going on, because you have the neuter declension, you have your feminine declension, and your masculine declension. In this case is a neuter third declension, right? So that's an example going through the language and understanding what you're saying. Matter of fact, there's been recent advances in looking at declensions. And again, this is your buddy right here. So I'm trying to figure out what do you want me to break down, my brother? I'm not sure what you want me to break down. You said in the Brenton LXS, it says, keep your servant from the attack of strangers. All right, let's see if that's what we're getting at here. Let's read the Greek. Hold on. All right, let me show you on the screen. This is why having interlinears are important, so you can decipher for yourself. So when will been here, go to en.katabiblon.com. All right, go into the Septuagint, and you can break this down yourself. All right. So you said Brenton says what? Let me go back to the chat. Let me go back to the chat. You says Brenton says, keep your servant from the attack of strangers. Let's see if that word stranger is there. You said from the attack of strangers. Close. Slave. Alopatoy. Tau. Dulo. This is the word for servant or slave. Happily close. And I mean, they that subdue or dominate. You said attack from strangers. I don't see that. I don't see that here. I don't see attack from strangers here. It says being spared from another's, so that you would be a servant to. So I see that, right? But I'm trying to see where you see attacked. What word would he say means attacked? I don't see that there. So what is your question on that? If Brenton's translation is accurate to the Septuagint, is that what you're saying? I don't know. I don't know if there is a textual variant off the top of my head. Maybe Brenton is translating from a textual variant, right, in another manuscript, because we have several of these manuscripts. So I'm not sure what manuscript family or with actual manuscript he's translating from, but I don't see it here. So hopefully that answers your question. I don't see it here. All right. So hopefully that began to answer your question. Again, maybe you want to do more research to see what manuscript Brenton is using. And if you know what manuscript it is, I'm going to take you here to this website here. I'll take you to this website. Let me show you this website. Now I could probably do some research and find out. But this website right here, I'll drop this in the chat. Yeah, that's in the chat. Here you can look up what they call Greek Old Testament manuscripts. So you have a Septuagint in Codex Sinaiticus, Septuagint in Codex Vaticanus, a Septuagint in the Codex Alexandrinus, a Scutus in the Ephraimi Rescriptus, which is a 5th century manuscript. Then you have a couple of ones here in the Chester Betty collection. So I would just like to know what manuscript he used. If you can find that out for me, then maybe I can help you more, and I can read it and I can parse it out and give to you what I see from it. Also, another thing that I think is great is, check this out, and I'll probably do this for you just for fun, right? Because I have it, right? Let me show you my screen. All right, so I have Logos or Logos. Depends if you use Erasmian Greek or whatever the case may be. And they actually challenge Erasmian Greek pronunciation in this book as well, but that's neither here nor there. Those language nerds will know what I'm talking about. But this here is the Septuagint Manuscript Explorer. Information about Septuagint manuscripts can be frustratingly difficult to find, but with the Septuagint Manuscript Explorer, we've gathered together information about existing Septuagint manuscripts, including their contents, date, language, holding institute, and more. With this interactive, you can discover the earliest Septuagint manuscript evidence for the minor prophets, view Codex Sinaiticus online, and see how many manuscripts contain the book of Psalms. So here's another resource that I have available to me. As you can see, it says you own this product. I can go and research it and look further for you for textual variants. All right. Yeah, anytime you see anything italicized, it's been added for context. So remember, there's a whole process to translation that requires being able to interpret a phrase, not only just the word for word, but also thought for thought. Because there are certain idioms that are expressed in Greek that if you directly or mechanically translate it to English, it makes no sense. So they use the context and they use the what we call the semantic range, or the different ways something can mean something, right? And not just looking at it in the Septuagint, but maybe elsewhere outside of that one passage, elsewhere in the Septuagint, or in other classical Greek and or Koine Greek works, right? To kind of get an understanding of what's being conveyed there. So I have not done an in-depth study on Psalm 19 and 13 to give you an answer on that. I can only point you in the right direction and or tell you that I can do that as a form of homework if I get a chance, right? And kind of look into that and see how Brenton got that translation, all right? No problem with Bill here. But also, what you can do is in the link below, just click that link, and we can do a one-on-one session, and we can go through the Greek, and we can go through whatever manuscripts that I've been able to examine, and look further into Brenton's translation, right? Because I'm familiar with Brenton's translation, but I haven't done no research to see what manuscript it came from. But hopefully that begins to answer your question. All right. So thank you. So with that being said, let me jump into Halloween real quick, because I know that's what a lot of y'all came from. Excuse me, came for. So let's get into that real quick. I'm gonna address that. So check it out here, right? Let me show you, right? Okay, so Yeti Hebrew Dre says, is it unlawful to have more than one wife? Did Yahshua advocate for only one wife? Okay, so if you say is it unlawful, it depends on what context, right? So if you're looking at the context of pre-Israelite Israelite culture, no. There's prescriptions in Torah because people were polygynous. The culture was polygynous. But there's regulations on how certain things are to be done, right? Like if you take on another wife, you cannot exempt the first wife from the same amount of food, clothing, and shelter or cohabitation that she had previously, meaning provisions cannot diminish if you take on another wife. If so, she's allowed to go, right? Then it tells you that if you love the child of the younger wife, but of the second wife, but hate the child of the first wife, then you still have to give an inheritance to that first son that's born from the first wife. There's still regulations in regards to polygyny. In America, bigamy is illegal because you cannot go to the state who officiates your marriage, your union between you and another person. The state is officiating it, right? You've put it under the jurisdiction of the state. And if you get a marriage certificate, right, one of those stipulations is that because two accounts have been merged, you cannot bring a third-party account in. It doesn't work that way, right? Actually, that's grounds for divorce, right? Adultery, right? Infidelity, right? So bigamy, legally, you cannot get two marriage certificates in America. That's illegal. Or more than two marriage certificates. That's illegal, right? However, you can have polygyny under the auspices of civil unions, right? Because civil unions are acknowledged still in some states that still have this in common law on the books. Civil unions, right? Domestic partnerships, right? All of these things deal with non-traditional forms of marriage in which polygyny is, right? So if you're saying that Yeshua advocate for only one wife, I don't see where he advocated for only one wife. If you can give me a scripture, maybe we can deal with that. But the key thing is not everybody was polygynous. Like you had to be able to afford polygyny. Remember I said, if you take another wife, the same provisions you gave the first wife cannot be diminished, right? It can either stay where it was at previously before you took on a second wife, or it must increase, or she has grounds to leave you and you cannot keep her, right? So these things were heavily regulated because people were doing all types of wild stuff with this. Because again, polygyny does help to solve problems. That's why it was allowed, because it helps to solve problems, right? But in certain societies, it may not make sense, right? You may not need it to serve certain problems. Sometimes you do. All I'm saying is I don't see where Yeshua directly dealt with polygyny. Like that word itself, the use of that word in the New Testament, I don't see where Yeshua dealt with that. If you have a scripture of that, let me know. But at the end of the day, I'm not here to tell people to do it or not to do it. That's simply up to your conviction and the needs of your household and your family, right? And the consent of your significant other, right? At the end of the day, I don't see where it has ever been outlawed in the scriptures, right? We see cases where polygyny did cause some issues and some cases where it was beneficial, right? But at the end of the day, I don't see where Yeshua dealt with this directly. If you have a reference for that, let me know. But I don't think he was here to deal with that. That wasn't part of his mission to deal with that. He didn't deal with everything that's in Torah. There's tons of stuff in Torah that he didn't speak on, right? So with that, let me move forward, right? So Sean, excellent question. I've addressed this in the past. The Northern Kingdom was not set on a coming Messiah. Why? Because that coming Messiah was through the loins of the Yehudim, according to the slight biases that the scribe and the priest had towards the seat of the throne in Judah. The northern tribes are a little bit different. They didn't have a focus on the Messiah, on Zion, or any of that, right? And how do we know this? Well, we have several manuscripts that have arisen from the Elephantine Papyri set, P63, and others that display for us, right? Or Amherst P63, that display for us that we see differences in a psalm from those who resided in Elephantine Island, who were Israelites, and from the traditional psalms we have today. There's no mention of the king, Zion, it's that type of salvation or salvic language, etc. is not there. They would not have been focused on that. That was the job of the South, to bring the North together, right? And this is when you see Yeshua speak about that. He's there to bring the two sticks together. You see the same thing with the Most High speaking to Ezekiel about bringing the two sticks together, right? So that was the job of the Yehudim, to bring all the tribes together to one. The northern tribes did not have any focus or fixation about a coming Messiah, about the restoration of the temple in Jerusalem, because most of them towards the north had their own quote unquote what we would call synagogues or mini temples. And that all stems from the split between Rehoboam and Jeroboam, okay, historically. So hopefully that begins to answer your question. Shout out to my sister Tiffany Smith. She says, Shalom, glad you are alive tonight. All praise to the Most High. All right. All right. So let me shift gears, right? Ankoma Jed, or the Jed, or Jed, because that has to do with the pillar that's in your avatar. That's what the Jed is. It's almost like the backbone, something that gives structure and support to something. All right. In ancient Kemet. You said what you think about Muhammad. I mean, there's no need for Muhammad in my I would say school of thought. There's no need for Muhammad. There's no need. Muhammad came to correct things peace be upon him, came to correct things that were being done in the realm of Judaism and Christianity, right? And he came to correct it, bringing his final revelation to mankind, being the last prophet of Allah. And that's what that teaches. That has nothing to do with what I'm doing over here. It's nothing to do with what we are engaging over here. Muhammad has nothing to do with this. There's no need for Muhammad in what we do here. There's no need. If you feel that there's a need for it, then that's your path. There's no need for it over here. Okay? All right. So let me transition away because y'all pulling me away, which I don't mind. Let me deal with the Halloween stuff. I didn't even get to touch on Halloween. We are an hour and 15 minutes in already. So let's deal with Halloween real quick. All right. You can save your questions. Let me try to finish this in a decent amount of time so I can spare some time to answer more additional questions. All right. I don't mind answering questions. You already know that, right? But I do have something I wanted to touch on today. So briefly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up from my post, since everything is there in one place, that I did on this. Right? And then we're going to go through this real quick as a brief summary. Remember, sign up for the Patreon, www.patreon.com/DivineProspect if you want to see the video of me interfacing with people coming to my door. Yo, it was wild, man. And y'all know I'm very frank, I'm very direct, and I am not shy at all. If anybody knows me knows that I'm not shy at all. I'm very direct, I'm very frank, but I'm very tactful and I'm very respectful, right? But I'm not afraid to engage, right? No matter what the situation is, I'm not afraid to engage. However, when I was young in grade school and middle school, I was shy. I was shy all the way up until I was 15 years old, right? 14, I started to break out the mode, right? Transition. And then when I turned 15, going towards 16, then I was very outgoing and stuff like that. But growing up, I was very shy. I was a slight introvert, very shy, but I did have friends and I did hang out and stuff like that from time to time. But I mostly kept to myself. I was very shy. So the type of person I am now, if the younger me was to see that and it was so, yeah, that would be you in the future, I wouldn't think that would be me. But circumstances caused me to break out of my shell. You know what I'm saying? But I say that to say that at some point, when it comes to bringing the word of Yah to our people, we have to come up out of our shell. Some of us who are introverted, right? If you yield yourself to the Most High, let me show you what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen to you. All right? For whenever I speak, I cry out. I proclaim violence and destruction, for the word of the Most High has become to me a reproach and derision all day long. If I say I will not mention his name or speak any more in his name, his message becomes a burning fire or fire burning in my heart, shut up in my bones, and I cannot, and I become weary of holding it in, and I cannot prevail. For I have heard the whispering of Mary. Terror is on every side. Report him. Let us report him. All my trusted friends watch my fall. Perhaps he will be deceived so that we may prevail against him and take our vengeance upon him. Some people do not want to speak the word of the Most High because it cuts like a two-edged sword. Let's get Hebrews chapter 4, verse 12. And it says, for the word of the Most High is living and active, sharpening a two-edged sword, piercing to the division of soul and of spirit and of joints and of marrow, and discerning the thoughts and intentions of the heart. Nothing in all creation is hidden from the Most High sight. Everything is uncovered and exposed before the eyes of him to whom we must give account. So when you speak his word, this is what happens. So a lot of times, if you already introverted and reserved, and you see you get blowback from people based on speaking the word of the Most High, you try to keep it to yourself, but it becomes a fire shut up in your bones. And it's so much so that you cannot contain it within, because he did not create you to be a Dead Sea. He created you to be a river of living water. What's the difference? The Dead Sea is dead because it has an inlet and no outlet. Things get stagnated. things die, but a river has nothing that is impacting its flow. It just flows down from a higher source and empties into a basin somewhere. So some of y'all get that another time. But nonetheless, either way, he has not created you to be a Dead Sea. He's created you to be a river. So we have to understand that at times, if we allow ourselves, if we empty ourselves and allow Yah to fill us with his Ruach, and we have that shut up in our bones, we cannot contain it and it will still come out. But he's using this for the sake of those you're speaking it to. So those who came to my door, maybe during the hustle and bustle of coming to get candy, stuff like that, they're not focused on what I'm saying, but a seed was planted. A seed was planted. And at some point, when the seed is planted, and I pray, Yah, bring it to their remembrance, right? Bring it to their remembrance. When I tell them that you are the children of Israel, that this holiday has nothing to do with your culture and what your ancestors practice, that this is a result of your colonization, etc. When I say these things and I give them sources to research, like a sister came here, she said she was Afro-Latina. That's what she said. She said family's from the Dominican Republic. I said, do you know the history of the Taino on Hispaniola? She said, no. I said, you don't know nothing about that? She said, no. I said, well, this holiday that you're celebrating that has been maximized and become a holiday for this nation called America was perpetuated by the first settlers that came on that island. They helped to make way for this thing that they're now getting you engaged in, that you must find a way to disengage from. And she was the only person who stopped and actively listened to what I was saying. She was still in college at KSU, Kennesaw State University. She had her daughter with her, but she stopped and she listened to what I was saying. Everybody else in spurts, like those 3 dudes that showed up with the Jason mask on, they listened because I told them, typically, if somebody with mask on like this approach my door like this on a typical day, and I'm not sure what's going on, I just get the gat and start shooting because I'm afraid for my life. But since you are here, and then I said what I said to them that you saw in the video, they stayed there and they listened. So the key thing, the seed was planted. I'm going to allow the Most High to allow something to water it, and that at some point it will be brought to their remembrance. So typically those of us may be shy and say, you know, I'm going to say nothing to this family member or this friend of mine or this person about this. I'm just going to keep it to myself. At some point, Yah is going to fill you up so much that you can't even help but say something about it. It's going to happen. So you must learn to be a river, learn to have an outlet and to flow when the Ruach is there and it's present within you. Do not let it or cause it to be shut up and contained and dammed in. You must let the levees break and allow it to flow out. Because otherwise, you're seeing the sword come and you're being quiet. And as a watchman, the blood is going to be on your hands. And God forbid that I allow the blood to be on my hands for my people. It's not happening. Okay. All right. So let's get into this real quick. And let me try to wrap it up so I can get into a few more questions and close out. All right. A brief summary on the origin of Halloween. The Celts celebrated a harvest festival called Samhain each fall. I know some of us says Samhain, but that's not how you say it in the Gaelic language, right? Samhain or Samhain has some things in common with our New Year's celebration as well as the modern Halloween. According to the Celtic calendar, October 31st was the final day of the year. The Samhain celebration on October 31st was a way to say farewell to the old year, close the harvest season, and get ready for winter. Now, Israelites, we already have that. Your Sukkot, right? Your Chag Sukkot, your Feast of Sukkot, that's what it is. It's an end of year, right? Closing the year out, preparing for the winter. That's why you have what's called the Feast of Ingathering, because they bring everything in from the wine presses, everything in from the threshing floors, and keeps it in storage until the wintry rains have passed. And then the new year begins again around what we call the spring equinox. All right. So we already have our custom and traditions. We don't need this. Let's keep going. The Celtics Samhain festival also had a supernatural side. According to Celtic tradition, on the eve of Samhain, the doorways between the world of the living and the world of the dead were open. This is why you act like ghouls and goblins and dress up and be mischievous and all of that, because you have an external influence that is allowed dominion in a short period of time to start to prey on those who are unsuspecting of his presence. It says, the doorways between the world of the living and the world of the dead were open. As a result, the spirits of people who had died during the previous year could cross over to the underworld. The Celts believed the dead could appear and communicate with the living during this period. To help the dead on their journey, Celts lit bonfires and sacrificed crops and animals. It was also believed that priests, and with priests we talk about the Druids, could see the future during this festival. The predictions made at Samhain were an important part of planning for the new year. Remember I told you about predictions, divining, all of that has nothing to do with our culture. In the Druid culture, Samhain celebrates the dead with a festival on October 31st and usually features a bonfire and communication with the dead. In the second half of the 19th century, America was flooded with new immigrants. These new immigrants, especially the millions of Irish fleeing the Irish potato famine, which I would encourage you to go back and check out, helped to popularize the celebration of Halloween nationally. And then I go to say this holiday is the rightful inheritance of the Bretons, the Cornish, the Irish, the Manx, the Scots, and the Welsh today. These are all the descendants of the Celtic nations that preceded them. This is the main reason why I do not engage it. My cultural stance in opposition to joining in these practices today are outlined in the follows. Leviticus 18:26. But you are to keep my statutes and ordinances, and you must not commit any of these abominations, neither your native born nor the foreigner who lives among you. Deuteronomy 18:9. You shall not learn to follow the abominable practices of those nations. There shall not be found among you anyone who practices divination or tells fortunes or interprets omens or a charmer or a medium or a necromancer or one who inquires of the dead. And we went over that earlier in Isaiah chapter 8. So if this is the roots, now again, things were grafted in over time, but these are the roots of this particular holiday. Why am I following this when this is the root of it? See, most people look at a tree, you don't even know anything about the roots. You only know what you see on the tree. Most people that are engaged in this have no clue about the roots of what it is that they're engaging in. Every time our people engage in this, you are disassociating yourself with the covenant you made with your patron deity. He's not pleased with this. This is from the Tanakh. Now, some of y'all may deal with the so-called New Testament. So let's get into the New Testament real quick on this matter. Check it out. Here's your first source. Matthiyahu 6:24. No one can serve two masters, for he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. Then it gives you a more direct reference to you cannot serve God and money. Halloween is a holiday about money. Why? Because if you go into the stores, Walmart, your Targets, any store you go to, a whole section is devoted to Halloween. They're profited off of you celebrating a holiday that disconnects you from the covenant of your patron deity. And they're having you buy into this. If you go up, it says, but if your eyes are bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then that light within you is darkness, how great is the darkness? This is important. Go to Luke chapter 16, verse 13. And if you have not been faithful with the belongings of another, who will give you belongings of their own? No servant can serve two masters. Either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. The Pharisees, who were lovers of money, heard all of this and were scoffing at Yeshua, right? The principle is you cannot serve two masters. When you are celebrating Halloween, like Anton LaVey said, he is so happy that Christians allow their children to engage in a quote-unquote satanic holiday at least once a year. They pay attention to our culture once a year, that peradventure that just diving into it once a year will have a lingering residue on them, so that way as they get older, they get more involved into this culture that's not their own and lead them astray from the covenant with the Most High. All right? So you're asking about the Hallows Eve. Okay, let's get into that. All right. Hold on. I'm gonna click on the sources. Hold on 1 second. Let me click on the sources real quick for you, so we can check up on that. All right. So let's go in this. This first one goes into Samhain. Oops. Oh. Okay. That link is broken. It's not good. I can get it. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna grab it here. Hold on 1 second. Let me grab it. Here we go. And here's the first source. I want y'all to see this. Yes, I know. I know the camera's off. I did that on purpose. All right. Here it is. All right. Let's just go back there. Where is it at? Where is it at? Right here. Samhain is a pagan religious festival originating from an ancient Celtic spiritual tradition. Matter of fact, let me drop the link. This is from history.com. All right. I'll drop the link in here. So Yeti Hebrew Dre, I wouldn't say eating candy is eating food sacrificed unto idols per se. I don't know. You know, I don't know what everybody does behind closed doors. Maybe some of it may be that. But you wouldn't know. So you thinking you're innocently getting candy, you don't know what's going on behind closed doors, to the person that's actually serving you that candy. You have no clue. Right? So I don't know what it is. However, what it is engaging in the festivities of a custom that is not your own, that you don't know the origin of, and therefore can be something that's separating you from you and your patron deity. All right. Let me see if I can get. Okay. All right. In modern times, Samhain, a Gaelic word pronounced Samhain, is usually celebrated from October 31st to November 1st to welcome in the harvest and usher in the dark half of the year. Celebrants believe that the barriers between the physical world and the spirit world break down during Samhain or Samhain, allowing more interaction between humans and denizens of the other world. Ancient Celts marked Samhain as the most significant of the 4 quarterly fire festivals taking place at the midpoint between the fall equinox and the winter solstice. During this time of year, hearth fires and family homes were left to burn out while the harvest was gathered. After the harvest work was complete, celebrants joined with Druid priests to light a community fire using a wheel that would cause friction and spark flames. The wheel was considered a representation of the sun and used along with prayers. Cattle were sacrificed, and participants took a flame from the communal bonfire back to their home to relight the hearth. Early texts present Samhain or Samhain as a mandatory celebration lasting 3 days and 3 nights, where the community was required to show themselves to local kings or chieftains. Failure to participate was believed to result in punishment from the gods, usually illness or death. There was also a military aspect to Samhain in Ireland, with holiday thrones prepared for commanders of soldiers. Anyone who committed a crime or used their weapons during the celebration faced a death sentence. Some documents mention 6 days of drinking alcohol to excess, typically mead or beer, along with glutton feast. All right. And then it goes into the monsters. Oh, man, you got to read this. Check it out. Because the Celts believed that the barrier between worlds was breachable during Samhain, they prepared offerings that were left outside villages and fields for fairies or seeds, right? Or sids. It was expected that ancestors might cross over during this time as well, and Celts would dress as animals and monsters so that fairies were not tempted to kidnap them. This is what y'all celebrating yesterday. Some of y'all celebrated this yesterday, all right? Some specific monsters were associated with the mythology surrounding Samhain, including shape-shifting creature called a puka that receives harvest offerings from the field. The Lady Gwyn is a headless woman dressed in white who chases night wanderers and was accompanied by a black pig. The Dullahan sometimes appeared as impish creatures, sometimes headless men or horses who carried their heads. Riding flame. Hey, some of y'all know about the headless horseman. All right. Riding flame-eyed horses. Their appearance was a death omen to anyone who encountered them. A group of hunters known as the fairy host might also hunt Samhain and kidnap people. Similar are the slog, who would come from the west to enter houses and steal souls. One interesting trend that I found is the increase in the disappearance of children during the season of Halloween. Maybe it's a coincidence. I don't know. Maybe something else is going on that we are not privy of. Nonetheless, let's continue. One of the most famous Samhain-related stories is the Adventures of Nera, in which the hero Nera encounters a corpse and fairies and enters into the outer world. Samhain figured into the adventures of mythological Celtic hero Fionn Mac Colhale when he faced the fire-breathing underworld dweller Ailin, who would burn down the Hall of Tara every Samhain. Samhain also figures into another Fionn Mac Colhale legend, where the hero is sent to the land beneath the wave, as well as taking place on Samhain. It features descriptions of the hero's holiday gatherings, right? As the Middle Ages progressed, so did the celebrations of the fire festivals. Bonfires known as Samnagins, which were more personal Samhain fires near the farms, became a tradition purportedly to protect families from fairies and witches. Carved turnips called jack-o'-lanterns began to appear, attached by strings to sticks and embedded with coal. Later, Irish tradition switched to pumpkins. In Wales, men tossed burning wood at each other in violent games and set off fireworks. In Northern England, men paraded with noisemakers, right? And it goes on and on. Hey, check it out. As Christianity gained a foothold in pagan communities, church leaders attempted to reframe Samhain as a Christian celebration. The first attempt was by Pope Boniface in the 5th century. He moved the celebration to May 13th and specified it as a day celebrating saints and martyrs. The 5 festivals of October and November, however, did not end with this decree. In the 9th century, Pope Gregory moved the celebration back to the time of the 5 festivals, but declared it All Saints' Day on November 1st. All Souls' Day would follow on November 2nd. Now check it out. October 31st, November 1st, and November 2nd. Those are the 3 days and 3 nights of celebrating the Samhain festival. It still lives on. It still lives on. And it was co-opted by the Roman Catholic Church, as we see here. And they also extended to the 1st and 2nd. Is it a coincidence that they extended this one day that's typically celebrated for 3 days in the past? After the Middle Ages and the medieval times, they've extended it to 3 days? Samhain merges with Halloween. Neither new holiday did away with the pagan aspects of the celebration. October 31st became known as All Hallows Eve or Halloween and contained much of the traditional pagan practices before being adopted in 19th century America through Irish immigrants bringing their traditions across the ocean. Trick or treating is said to have been derived from ancient Irish and Scottish practices in the nights leading up to Samhain. In Ireland, mumming was the practice of putting on costumes, going door to door, and singing songs to the dead. Cakes were given as payment. Halloween pranks also have a tradition in Samhain, though in the ancient celebration, tricks were typically blamed on fairies. A broad revival of Samhain resembling its traditional pagan form began in the 1980s with the growing popularity of Wicca. Wicca's celebration of Samhain takes on many forms, from the traditional fire ceremonies to celebrations that embrace many aspects of modern Halloween, as well as activities related to honoring nature or ancestors. Wiccans look at Samhain as the passing of the year and incorporate common Wiccan traditions into the celebration. In the Druid tradition, Samhain celebrates the dead with a festival on October 31st and usually features a bonfire and communion with the dead. American pagans also hold music and dance celebrations called witches' balls in proximity to Samhain, cultic reconstructions, etc., etc. So the key thing, then here's the sources as well, right? If you want to look at the sources, I don't know why this thing just came up. Let me exit out so I can close it. Right? So this is the stuff that, unbeknownst to the trick-or-treaters, that they're engaging in. And if you ask most of them that come to my door, they're Christians. So are you a Christian? Yes. It's okay. Just want to get that for the record. Do you think your church will condone this? Yes. Oh man, you one of those liberal churches, right? So no, my church, we fiery for the Lord. I'm like, okay. They're saying this while they have a costume on, but it's okay. Yeah, it's all good. And the costume looks like Freddy Krueger. But that's neither here nor there. All right, it might be a method to that madness. I don't know. All I'm saying is there's no compromise over here when it comes to these holidays. All right. All right. Wow. JD Israel, I'm not surprised. This comes along with the program. All right. Okay. We're about to close out, so I'm not going to be on too much longer. Let's dive into our second source real quick, which you know, some of this echoes through, but this is a source that I give y'all every year to go in. We go into it every year because it's very succinct and gets right to the point. Here's the source right there so you can follow along, or you could just look on your screen. And every time I bang on the holidays, we have the least amount of viewers. I wonder why. I wonder why. Maybe it's just a coincidence. I don't know. Let's keep going. Halloween is a holiday celebrated each year on October 31st, and Halloween 2021 will occur on Sunday, October 31st. The tradition originated with the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, when people would light bonfires and wear costumes to what? Ward off ghosts. It's a talisman, and they don't even realize that's what they're engaging in. In the 18th century, Pope Gregory III designated November 1st as a time to honor all saints. Soon, All Saints Day incorporated some of the traditions of Samhain. The evening before was known as All Hallows Eve and later Halloween. Over time, Halloween evolved into a day of activities like trick-or-treating, carving jack-o'-lanterns, festive gatherings, donning costumes, and eating treats. Then it goes into the ancient origins, which I went over with you already, right? Again, all this has to do with divination of the dead and understanding the spirits that's coming through, protecting yourself from the fairies and all of that. Okay, all right. By 43 AD, the Roman Empire had conquered the majority of Celtic territory. In the course of the 400 years that they ruled the Celtic lands, two festivals of Roman origin were combined with the traditional Celtic celebration of Samhain or Samhain. The first was Feralia, a day in late October when the Romans traditionally commemorated the passing of the dead. The second was a day to honor Pomona, the Roman goddess of fruit and trees. The symbol Pomona is the apple, and the incorporation of this celebration into Samhain probably explains the tradition of bobbing for apples that is practiced today on Halloween. Do you see where these sources come from? Look at this. All right, cool. On May 13, 609, Pope Boniface the Fourth dedicated the Pantheon in Rome in honor of all Christian martyrs, and the Catholic feast of All Martyrs' Day was celebrated in the Western Church. Pope Gregory III later expanded the festival to include all saints as well as all martyrs and moved the observance from May 13th to November 1st. So today is a revered holiday in Catholicism. Okay? But check it out. They are honoring their ancestors, who they believe are patrons and matrons that watch over them. So they divine with them. This is what you get involved in, but you know, this is what y'all like and this is what you want. I understand. By the 9th century, the influence of Christianity has spread into Celtic lands where it gradually blended with and supplanted older Celtic rites. In 1000 AD, the church made November 2nd All Souls Day a day to honor the dead. It's widely believed today that the church was attempting to replace the Celtic Festival of the Dead with a related church-sanctioned holiday. All Souls Day was celebrated similarly to Samhain with big bonfires, parades, and dressing up in costumes as saints, angels, and devils. The All Saints Day celebration was also called All Hallows or All Hallowmas, from Middle English Al Messe, meaning All Saints Day. And the night before it, the traditional night of Samhain in the Celtic religion, began to be called All Hallows Eve and eventually Halloween. Halloween comes to America. The celebration of Halloween was extremely limited in colonial New England because of the rigid Protestant belief systems there. Halloween was much more common in Maryland and southern colonies. As the beliefs and customs of different European ethnic groups and the American Indians meshed, a distinctly American version of Halloween began to emerge. The first celebration included play parties, which were public events held to celebrate the harvest. Neighbors would share stories of the dead, tell each other's fortunes, dance and sing. You see, the elements are still in there of Samhain. Colonial holiday festivities also featured the telling of ghost stories and mischief making of all kinds. By the middle of the 19th century, annual autumn festivities were common, but Halloween was not yet celebrated everywhere in the country. In the second half of the 19th century, America was flooded with new immigrants. These new immigrants, especially the millions of Irish fleeing the Irish potato famine, helped to popularize the celebration of Halloween nationally. Borrowing from European traditions, Americans began to dress up in costumes, go house to house asking for food or money, a practice that eventually became today's trick-or-treat tradition. Young women believed that on Halloween, they could divine the name or appearance of their future husband by doing tricks with yarn, apple parings, or mirrors. This was some of y'all doing in your house, and you're not telling everybody. But it's your business, because if you do this in your home and you get that husband that you want, just remember the auspices in which that was generated by these practices here. It's like when people come to ask people, say, why are you even doing this? Why are you doing Halloween? It's because it's a holiday. So what does it mean? Where are these practices, custom? Where did they come from? Who originated it? You just following something because everybody else is doing it? Didn't your parents teach you about peer pressure? Okay, maybe they didn't. I don't know. In the late 1800s, there was a move in America to mold Halloween into a holiday more about community and neighborly get-togethers than about ghost pranks and witchcraft. At the turn of the century, Halloween parties for both children and adults became the most common way to celebrate the day. Parties focused on games, food of the season, and festive costumes, right? Halloween parties. It goes into the history of Halloween parties. Thus, a new American tradition was born, and it continued to grow. Today, Americans spend an estimated $6 billion annually on Halloween, making it the country's second largest commercial holiday after Christmas. Remember I said serving God and money? Can't serve two masters? Y'all contributing to $6 billion, but you telling me y'all can't solve poverty in the hood? But y'all can put up $6 billion every year on a holiday that has nothing to do with you or your ancestors? Word? That's how y'all living? Hey, listen, that's your business. It's your business. Let's bring on one last scripture for those of you who subscribe to the New Testament, right? New Testament, right? Bring it up for y'all real quick. This is for the Christians that's watching too. So I know some Christians are watching right in their bedroom with their headphones on, so the rest of their Christian family members don't hear what it is that I'm saying, because they're undercover Israelite. They just haven't come out the closet yet. All right, so check it out. All right, hopefully the truth does that to them. All right, Paul says, test all things, hold fast to that which is good, abstain from every form of evil. Test all things, hold fast to that which is good, and abstain from every form of evil. Is that what y'all Christians doing on this holiday? That's what y'all doing? Okay. All right. Okay, just checking in with y'all, making sure you're still alive, make sure you're still here. All right. Okay. So we're in a society where the blind leads the blind. And if the blind is leading the blind, they both are going to fall into a ditch. So I ask you to this day, who you going to serve? Let's get the scripture. Let's get the scripture on that, because maybe some of y'all need scripture on that. Let's check this out. Let's go to Joshua chapter 24 and verse 15. And this is the thing that we must end this off with as a reminder to those of you who are tempted to get involved in the festivities of Halloween, even after learning the origin and history of this particular holiday. Let's get it real quick. And if it is evil in your eyes to serve the Most High, choose this day whom you will serve, whether the powers your father served in the region beyond the river, or the powers of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. But as far as me and my house, we will serve Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh. I don't know what y'all doing in your house with your family, your tribe, your clan. I don't know what y'all doing. But if it's evil to serve Yah, to keep these feast days, even as a memorial, a zikron, even as a memorial unto Yah, Zikron is a memorial. The on is a diminutive, which means a smaller, endearing version of something. A small reminder. These things are a zikron, a small reminder of what Yah has done with our ancestors. And if it is evil to keep these statutes, laws, and commandments, when the word was entrusted to Yod-Heh-Vav and the Most High through the psalmist, says that he has not dealt with any other nation. Because once Israel was formed, he only dealt with Israel. Outside of Israel, like before Israel was formed, he was dealing with other people, other nations. Once Israel was here, that was the apple of his eye. He only dealt with Israel until Israel disobeyed. Then he opened it up a little bit more. Nonetheless, if y'all want to serve the gods and the powers of Roman Catholicism, of the Celtic nations and their festivals and their divining of the dead and all these other deities and fairies, if that's what you want to serve, my man, that's your business. But for me and my household, we will serve Yod-Heh-Vav. And that's it. As much as we can, we will serve Yah. So you must ask yourself this. Christians, Israelites, Muslims. I've seen some Muslims doing this too. I live right down the street from a mosque. I see Muslims trick-or-treating. Some women in hijabs. What's going on? You're trick-or-treating? That's how we getting down? With a hijab on? Maybe that's their costume. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I have no clue. I don't know what's going on. Right? Nonetheless, the people said in verse 16, the people replied, far be it from us to forsake Yod-Heh-Vav to serve other gods. And you know how Yah responds to some people who just quick to say, oh, no, you know. Yeah. Let's get the scripture. Get the scripture. Therefore, Adonai said, these people draw near to me with their mouths and honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Their worship of me is but rules taught by men. Therefore, I will again confound these people with wonder upon wonder. The wisdom of the wise will vanish, and the intelligence of the intelligent will be hidden. This is why it's so difficult for people to find the path that leads back to the Creator. Because everything is about lip service. And people try to compromise. Now, it's one thing if you're an individual who is desiring to be righteous and all that you say and do, and you have a slip up. Get up and keep going. But those who slip up and then justify their slip up, and to further justify their slip up, they look for errors and issues in the word which they once had held fast to. Now their conscience becomes seared. Now it's a whole lifestyle they're engaging in because they don't desire to get up again. They fall in mischief, the scripture says, or in contempt. So the key thing is we can't just honor Yah with our lips. We can't just draw near to him with our mouth. We must do it from our heart. And how do we know that something is a heart condition? Based on your actions. Okay. All right. Hold on, I'm gonna try to answer your question. 1 Kings 2. Okay, 1 Kings 2:37. Let's see. Okay, 1 Kings 2 and 37. Let's take a look. Okay, so 1 Kings 2:37 says, "For on the day you go out and cross the brook Kidron, know for certain that you shall die. Your blood shall be on your own head." So you want to know if that word Kidron there is a diminutive, right? So let's take a look. I'm going to show you, right? Here it is here. Kidron, right? Kidron. Kid, Kuf, your Hirik, your Dalet, your Shewa, your Resh, your Wav with the Cholam, and your final Nun, Kidron. This on, this Cholam, Wav, Nun, final Nun, this is your diminutive, right? Which means a smaller, endearing form of something. And it says it means perhaps dusky, right? From the root Kadar, which means what? Something that is dark. The tense of Kadar, right? So dusky is a shade of dark. It's not fully dark. It is a smaller shade of dark. That's why it's called Kidron. And again, it comes from the root Kadar, which means to be dark. Okay. So my brother Kidron, I think hopefully that helps to answer your question. But I'm just trying to give you some morphological features to identify to better understand what's going on in the language. Hence why I told you that Shabbat, Shabbaton, refers to a smaller portion of time within the full 24 hours of a day in which rest is done. And that is typically from sunrise to sunset, or sunrise to about 3, where the sun waxes the hottest and then begins to taper off until the sun sets. That's when the Sabbath is. That's when your day of rest. The only exception to that is when they was keeping the Day of Atonement or Yom Kippur, because it would be from evening to evening. So their rest or the affliction of their souls wasn't just in that smaller portion of the day, but it extended from one evening to the next evening. And the reason why that's referenced, because it was something that was unusual. And also, and I would say not all, but the consensus of scholarship says that that is the explanation of that. Why you have evening to evening. Not that it was a defining mark of what a Sabbath is, but it's to show that this particular set apart day wasn't a feast day. Set apart day was there, and in order to go in and work in coinciding with the priest's work or conjunction with the priest's work, you'd have to afflict your soul from evening to evening. That's why it's laying it out like that. All right. All right. So with that being said, Gavin Miller pull it out. Light must not fellowship with darkness. Why would you want to associate with a holiday that has nothing to do with you or your ancestors or your belief system? Now, if you are Wiccan, if you are warlock, if you delve into the what they call the old paganistic practices, and again, pagan is not really a bad word. It was turned into a pejorative term, but pagan just simply means a country dweller, right? But today it has the term pagan, meaning something that is non-Christian, non-Jewish, non-Muslim. All right, something that is outside the scope of the 3 Abrahamic religions. Okay. Now, if this is what if you want to revitalize, right, the old Celtic practices of the Druids and go into Samhain, then that's your business. If you come from those Celtic nations and you don't rock with the Bible and you want to get in touch with your ancestral practices, customs, and culture, that's your business. However, if you are a Gentile from that lineage and decide to covenant with Yah, then you have to be all in. You cannot go both ways. It does not work that way, because if you're lukewarm, he will spew you out. Okay. And those of you who inherit this cultural disposition from your ancestors, you cannot venture your foot left or right to come out of that boundary of provision and protection that Yah has created for you based on his covenant with your forefathers. If you hope to be restored in your fortunes now and in the future, to be regathered and returned back into the land so you can get your rightful inheritance, you cannot engage or compromise. You must stand flat-footed and firm. You must be anchored into the fact that Yah is your rock and you cannot be moved, no matter what adversity comes your way. Yes, you're going to face bumps and bruises, but after you've done all to stand, stand. And that's very interesting when you get into the Greek of that, but I'll deal with that another time. All right. All right. So, So apothecary custom, now you're dealing with the Greek. So when I say Shabbaton, Shabbat Shamaton, I'm referring to its usage in regards to Shemot chapter 16, which is Exodus 16, where we find its first usage at. And we understand what a diminutive is. Now, when you go to Shabbaton or Sabbaton, going into the Greek, it's a transliteration from the Hebrew or Aramaic. And it refers to something in regards to the reckoning of time in the mindset of Jews who saw the stuff, the events that they're talking about through the lens of Hellenism. Now, I've addressed that in a prior video about 3 years ago that I did on Easter. And I opened that up and I went into depth about that and I explained that, right? So you can go into the playlist that I have there on the various holidays, deconstructing the holidays. I have the Easter ones on there. Go check it out. And I go into that word Sabbaton in the Greek. I can break that down another time if you want. But right now, I'm about to close this show because we're coming up on 2 hours. And I think we got to be packed in enough information here, right, for it to be relevant. Now, those of you, like I said, sign up for the Patreon. You'll see this new video that I'm about to drop on there that I know you'll enjoy it. I'll have a sample on YouTube as well. But also, I have a ton of books that I've added, articles, and new content. I have one that deals with the Hapiru, one I just added, the Hapiru, and are they really the Hebrews, and a viewpoint on that. I told you about the one from the church, from Jesus to the church. That's another excellent source that I have on there as well. Also, I put posts like this on there as well as a resource, like talking about Halloween, which I just read from my YouTube channel. But I also have this stuff on the Patreon as well. And then finally, we have a couple of other pretty interesting sources on there. One that I added recently is called "Why Can't We Get Rid of Silent Letters in the English Language? And What Do They Mean?" which I think is very interesting. And then one called Pre-Exilic Israel, or In Search of Pre-Exilic Israel, edited by John Day. An excellent book if you want to understand how to reconstruct and restore pre-exilic culture, or the Israelite culture in pre-exilic times that I tout all the time on this channel. That's an excellent source to get you started. That source is kind of old, those from 2004, but it still has a lot of relevant foundational information that has been built on since then, right? Another great book that you can grab and read from our library. And also, we just added another Bible book or Torah book called Exodus, chapters 1 to 40, from our The Bible Experience Cinematic Audio Bible, which gives you voices of Black actors and actresses and orchestral background ambient music and sounds that bring the Bible world to life with the voices of people today who would have sounded like their ancestors prior. It is an enveloping experience. We just added Exodus. This month coming up, or this month now, we in November, we will be adding the book of Vayikra or Leviticus. All right? So again, sign up for the Patreon, get into that. We have another book called How Old is the Bible? A Linguistic, Textual, and Historical Study by Ronald Hendel and Jan Jutston. You will love that book. And another one that I added as real good is called The Oxford History of the Ancient Near East. And it's a great guide to understanding the establishments of the Old Kingdom in Egypt to the dynasty of Akkad, right? Which has to do with the Akkadian Empire, right? Excellent source. And they have other volumes in that same series that I know that you'll enjoy. And again, From Jesus to the Church, the first Christian generation by Craig A. Evans. That'll give you a lot of information. And lastly, Illuminating Leviticus, a study of its laws and institutions in light of biblical narratives. So the premise by Callum Carmichael is that the establishment of the law, statute, commandments that we see in the book of Leviticus is a result of the narrative history of Israel and the do's and don'ts that developed over time and the taboos, etc., that then was codified and utilized as the template to lay out and establish the things that we see in the book of Leviticus. Excellent book. Now, again, I don't agree with 100% everything in the book, but maybe a good 80% of it I think is solid. The other 20%, we got to talk about it. Right, we got to talk about it. It's open for being addressed. All right. And lastly, I added an archaeological find, which is called the seal of or the bula of the prophet Isaiah. And again, bula are administrative seals that are used in order for you in the royal court to authenticate something. And a lot of the pharaohs of Egypt were only identified via their seals, and we don't have their bodies. We just have their seals, which is indicative that they existed. And on this seal, it says, belonging to the Nabi, the prophet Yeshayahu, which is Isaiah. And I'm going to be adding tons more archaeological finds on there. When people say the Bible is fake, it's not real, there's no archaeological evidence to prove the existence of these characters, we have tons of it. And I'm just now getting back into putting more and more out there. I gave you something on Samson, and I gave you something on the first wall of the first temple that was shown and established that they excavated in situ, all of that stuff. And we're going to pour out more and more of this information because we want to meld the text with archaeology, right? And we want to provide you with this method for reconstructing, restoring, and the contemporary application of the pre-existing Israelite culture, right? And this, again, this is a great resource here for helping to establish that, right? All right. So I'm gonna answer that for you real quick, Seth, and I'm gonna leave out. If the husband and wife have sexual intercourse during their pleasure on Friday night, will they be ceremonially unclean on Saturday morning when the Sabbath begins? Now, according to Torah, and you gave the verses up there earlier, that whenever a man has a discharge as a result, a seminal discharge as a result of intercourse, he and the woman are both unclean. Okay, and they're unclean until the evening of the following day. So yes, if you engage your husband or wife or significant other during that period of time, then you will be considered ceremonially unclean on the Sabbath. However, there's nothing that says that if you are ceremonially unclean on the Sabbath by way of intercourse with your wife or husband, that is something that requires a penalty that you'll be destroyed for. Because the only thing is you have to keep yourself apart from other people. That means if there's a gathering, you would just withhold yourself from gathering because you and your significant other decided you want to get busy the night before. Simple as that. That's all. So nothing that requires a sacrifice, nothing that requires a penalty, anything like that. You are just unclean into the evening. You must keep yourself set apart until you're ceremonially unclean, ceremonially purified or clean in regards to distancing yourself and allowing time to accrue that, because the objective is cleanliness, being clean. Spilled semen that is spilt was something that was very interesting in times past, that's slightly different than what it is today, right? It meant something more significant, right? The discharge of semen, of seminal fluids, and the discharge of fluids from the woman, whether that is during intercourse or whether that's based on her nida, right? These things had a significance in ancient times. Now, I don't have enough time to go into it now. Maybe I may bring it out in a Q&A on the next live stream, but there's several resources that I have on the Patreon that if you dig into there and look up the Israelite culture, you'll be able to see what these things are that I'm referencing, all right, in passing, all right? Israelite International Chauvinist Patriarchy, a day starts at evening. I don't think anybody here is disagreeing with that, okay? And Allure Entertainment about Facebook Meta, I won't address that now. I'll address that on my Let's Talk About series that will appear on Patreon very soon. So stay tuned for that. All right. Shout out to Mikael. I see you, Mikael King. You love Yah. I see you. Shalom. My brother Seth Upright. Shalom. Kithron. Shalom. Anunnaki. Offspring. Israelite. Shalom. Inkpen 27. Shalom. Andre Waverers. Shalom. Ana Yisrael. Shalom. House of Maccabi. Shalom. Curtis Jr. Parker. Shalom. Gavin Miller. Shalom. Sister Leslie Fields, shalom. Let me see. Anybody else I missed? My brother Yeti, Hebrew Dre, shalom. Let's see. Tiffany Smith, shalom. And Koma Dijed, shalom. Do It for the Nation, shalom. Mac Ados Lee, shalom. G Brown, shalom. Kaya, the Hebrew, shalom. Let's see. Linda Rick, shalom. Dwight Adams, shalom, shalom. Game AMPME, shalom. Elephant Man Podcast Network, shalom. James Lamb, shalom. Azariel, shalom. And J Rod, shalom, shalom. And anybody else I miss, my apologies. I probably didn't see you in the chat, But thank you for your contributions to the chat. Thank you for rocking out with us till 1:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We appreciate your support. Thank you to those who have donated, those who just recently signed up for the Patreon, those who sent the Cash App donations. We appreciate that. If there's anything that we can do to help you, email us at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. If you or somebody you know or love needs a religious exemption for COVID-19 vaccine and they're unable to articulate or explicate their religious dispositional beliefs to their employer, please have them click the link in the description below to get started on the process so we can assist them with crafting up a personalized letter, customized letter that they can then serve to their job so that they can refrain from engaging in the mandate for COVID-19. And now, since we're closing off on that, Demetrius Easley, all praise to the Most High. My brother said he is cancer free. This brother right here is one of our software developers. He had to take some time off to get healthy. The brother said he is cancer free. All praise to the Most High. My brother Demetrius Easley, if you have not already set up an appointment with Natural Path to Eden, email naturalpathtoeden@gmail.com. naturalpathtoeden@gmail.com. Set up a consultation so we can keep you cancer-free, my brother. All praise to the Most High. I love that brother. Good, down-to-earth brother. Now that he's cancer-free, I hope his mind is right now. He is being restored and put back together because Yah is the healer. That's what we went over earlier. That's awesome, right? That we just talked about the Most High healing. The Most High healed this brother because the brother committed to ensuring that his health was top priority, did not let anything distract him, and now he is being restored. My brother, we need you back on the PM team so we can get this kids app done and we can edify the educational masses of children in our community that needs a culturally funded and founded premise to learn their academic studies, which is our Israelite culture. Thank you, my brother, and I'm so grateful to hear that you are healed and cancer-free. Yah is a healer, right? If you keep the statute, laws, and commandments. Don't forget that part. Now, with that being said, I want to show you something real quick. Let's go get some new information. Well, it's not new. It's been around for some time. Maybe some people are not familiar with it from the CDC. Let me show it to y'all real quick. All right. So check it out. And I'm going to close out because I know my son is still up and he's pretty active. I don't want to compete with him because he'll probably outdo me in being loud. But I want to show you this before we close out because I want to show something that's very interesting, right? So if you're looking at my screen, check it out, my screen right here, right? The Delta variant. Now, this was updated August 26, 2021, which was approximately about almost 3 months ago, 2.5, 3 months ago, right? This goes into the Delta variant. But what I want you to see is this, right? I want you to understand something called breakthrough infections. And I'm going to show you another article before I get into this. When people have you to think, and again, this goes to show when you create this letter, it's great to reference this because people who are vaccinated have the same rate of transmission as those who are unvaccinated and spreading the Delta variant of coronavirus, according to the CDC. So they are also advised to wear masks when indoors, social distance, and all of that. So you telling me my job is pushing me to be mandated to get vaccinated for COVID-19, where even though I'm vaccinated, that I can get the Delta variant and still spread it to other people, and I can still be symptomatic even though I got vaccinated? What is going on here? So you got to cite these sources because this is the current events in regards to science in the realm of immunology and virology pertaining to coronavirus. So it says here, the Delta variant is more contagious. The Delta variant is highly contagious, more than 2 times as contagious as previous variants. Some data suggests the Delta variant might cause more severe illness than previous variants in unvaccinated people. Just talking about those who have been vaccinated. In 2 different studies from Canada and Scotland, patients infected with the Delta variant were more likely to be hospitalized than patients infected with Alpha or the original virus that causes COVID-19. Even so, the vast majority of hospitalization and death caused by COVID-19 are in unvaccinated people. This is what they're saying now. And there's a reason why the language is there. I don't have time to delve into it. But let's read the next part. Unvaccinated people remain the greatest concern, right? But it says fully vaccinated people get COVID-19, known as breakthrough infections, less often than unvaccinated people. But it says people infected with the Delta variant, including fully vaccinated people with symptomatic breakthrough infections, can transmit the virus to others. CDC is continuing to assess data on whether fully vaccinated people with asymptomatic breakthrough infections can transmit the virus. But yet they say in the next paragraph, fully vaccinated people with Delta variant breakthrough infections can spread the virus to others. However, vaccinated people appear to spread the virus for a shorter time. For prior variants, lower amounts of viral genetic material found in samples taken from fully vaccinated people who had breakthrough infections. So what's a breakthrough infection? That means you still get symptoms even though you're vaccinated of COVID-19. Even though you're vaccinated, that's a breakthrough infection, right? Breakthrough infections then from unvaccinated people with COVID-19. For people infected with the Delta variant, similar amounts of viral genetic material have been found among both unvaccinated and fully vaccinated people. However, like prior variants, the amount of viral genetic material may go down faster in fully vaccinated people when compared to unvaccinated people. This means fully vaccinated people will likely spread the virus for less time than unvaccinated people. However, they can still spread the virus. So check it out. Let me show it to you. Hold on. Let me drop this in the chat. Excuse me for my passion. I'm just giving you this information. This is called righteous indignation. Indignation. If you don't know what that means, look it up, right? But check it out. This is from the CDC themselves. Now I want to show you something else, right? Sister to this, right? Check this out. Now, don't get me started on the classifications on variants of concern, etc. Not even going to deal with that, right? Lambda was a very serious variant that was being shown in vitro in the labs to be vaccine resistant. However, that variant is dying off, but there are other variants that they are now analyzing to see how worse it may be. Because once you have a vaccine resistant virus, just like you have multi-drug resistant strains of bacteria that you cannot get penicillin, amoxicillin, anything else for, at some point, you're going to have the same thing happening because of people who are vaccinated. They'll say, oh, some people who's unvaccinated. People who are vaccinated are still spreading. So the virus, when it makes all these kinds of these mutations that occur, one of the mutations is going to circumvent the immune system, and it's going to, because it's not being done naturally, it's going to circumvent the immune system so that way it becomes vaccine resistant. So check this last article out, and then we're going home on this one, right? Let me slow it down for a little bit. Let's slow it down. Let me show this to y'all real quick. All right, listen, I don't do conspiracy theories, man. Publicly, I'm gonna say that. when we launch this new series where I'm just gonna talk unfiltered, right? From my perspective, it's not gonna be on YouTube, so it can be filtered, so it can be shadow banned, so it can be striked against. It's not gonna be on YouTube, right? You're only gonna get it on Patreon. It's gonna be on my shared drive online. It's the only way you can access it, right? And you can't download it. You can only stream and view it, right? Nonetheless, let me read this to you for a breakthrough infection, all right? So y'all can understand what's going on here. As I think some people don't understand, right? This is from, I'm gonna show you the website this is from, right? Johns Hopkins Medicine, all right? This is an authentic website when it comes to discussing health, all right? Check it out. Let me read it for y'all, right? Breakthrough infections, coronavirus after vaccination. A breakthrough infection is an infection with the virus, bacterium, or other germ after you have been vaccinated. This is an expected occurrence. You know why? Because even though you're vaccinated, does not mean you can't get infected. This is an expected occurrence for a small percentage of those receiving any vaccine, since no vaccine for any disease is 100% effective in preventing infection in every person who receives it. Now, hold on 1 second. One second. Hold on 1 second. Let's give 1 second. Let me take my time on this one. Can I take my time on this one? Let's read this again. This is for those of you in the back who didn't hear it the first time. Stand up, come a little closer, and let's see what's going on. A breakthrough infection is an infection with the virus, bacterium, or other germ after you have been vaccinated. This is an expected occurrence for a small percentage of those, and they don't give you what that percentage amount is. They just use words like small percentage of those receiving any vaccine, since no vaccine for any disease is 100% effective in preventing infection in every person who receives it. I didn't write this. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is from Johns Hopkins Medicine. All right. Breakthrough coronavirus infections happens when someone who has been fully vaccinated for COVID-19 becomes infected with the SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus. Lisa Margakis, MD, MPH, Senior Director of Infection Prevention, and Gabor Kellen, MD, Director of the Johns Hopkins Office of Critical Event Preparedness and Response, explains what you need to know about breakthrough coronavirus infections, right? Can you get COVID after being vaccinated? Yes. Okay, hold on. Let me scroll down epically, and let me read this thing to you slow. Are y'all coming closer to the front row? Let's read this again. All right, y'all there? All right. Can you get COVID after being vaccinated? Yes. Breakthrough COVID-19 cases happen in people who are fully vaccinated, and they seem to happen more frequently now that the Delta variant is circulating widely. All three available coronavirus vaccines are very good at protecting you against severe forms of COVID-19, but they are not 100% effective in preventing infection. Breakthrough COVID can be caused by the Delta variant, which is more contagious than some other coronavirus variants. I'm going to stop right there, okay? There's much more to this. If you want to take some time, go in and read it. A study in Washington State gathered data from over 4 million fully vaccinated people. The data showed a rate of about 1 in 5,000 experienced a breakthrough infection between January 17th and August 21st, 2021. More recently, some populations have shown breakthrough infection rates of approximately 1 in 100 fully vaccinated people. That means if 100 people line up and get that shot, get that jab, one of them is going to transmit the Delta variant and get everybody else sick. Okay. With that, I bow to tonight. Let me reel back. Let me reel back my righteous indignation. Let me reel it back some. Right? Again, this is not coming from my opinion. This is not coming from conspiracy theories and Joe Blows off the internet. This is coming from straight science, from the experts in the field, CDC included. So, when we help you draft this letter, we're going to begin citing more data like that, more sources like that. And we want to see what these jobs have to say about it, because these jobs give you this memorandum, right? This notice, this email, have a call a meeting and say, oh, in order to fully protect the people in this agency, you say to them, say, wait a second. So if 100 people get vaccinated, do you know about breakthrough infections, and that one person, if they get the Delta variant, that they can spread it to everybody else and get everybody else sick, even though they got vaccinated? Did y'all know that? And did you know, according to DOL OSHA guidelines, that you're supposed to tell me everybody that's been infected with coronavirus via testing? Upon request, you can request that if they're following the guidelines for DOL OSHA. All right, we're going to stop. This is why our letter is so effective, because we hit all these points. So we don't just address the religious affirmation of beliefs. We also go into the science statistically. And then the last part is, because I'm asking you to do this for me, this is what I'm going to do for you to ensure that I'm not a public health safety risk to my other employees. I'm going to do this, and that. And then we close it out with a notarization to affirm all the testimony contained therein, and that with our signature, we authenticate that everything said in this is true, is exactly what we subscribe to, and we are willing to put this on record before being submitted to our employer via a third party that authenticates this for the record. You can even file and put it in the county clerk's office. Say, hey, file that for me too, so we have it on record, just in case. So it's a war on choice. I don't care if you've been vaccinated. That's your business. The issue that I have is somebody imposing a vaccine on me, my loved ones, or anybody else that's close to me, right? When the numbers say 1.6% is the morbidity rate. Let me show it to you in case you don't believe me, and I'm going to end off on here. Y'all might not believe what I'm saying. Let me just bring this up. Let me just check this out. I want y'all to see this, man. I want y'all to see this. Check it out. Now, when we go to, remember I told y'all, Ebola is a totally different ball game. You got almost 90% morbidity with Ebola. Anywhere from 40 to 90%. You can die from Ebola. So I may consider the jab at that point if Ebola was widespread over here. That's different. That's 90%. This is 1.6%. But let me show you the statistics in case y'all think I'm fibbing. Some people may think that I'm making this stuff up. Let's bring it out. Hold on. Where did I just pull it up at? Hold on. Let me show you on my screen, and then we closing out. All this data we chock full of data we cram into these letters, man. Now check it. Let me let y'all see this real quick. All right. Now, this is from Johns Hopkins University in Medicine. Remember earlier we read from where? Johns Hopkins Medicine, one of the foremost leaders on the front lines of breakthrough science and statistics in regards to coronavirus. This is a legit website. I'm not making this up. We use the crap test to vet everything. And typically when you see .edu, it's authentic. But let's keep going. Mortality in the most affected countries. For the 20 countries currently most affected by COVID-19 worldwide, the bars on the chart below show the number of deaths either per 100 confirmed cases, observed case fatality ratio, or per 100,000 population. This represents a country's general population with both confirmed cases and healthy people. Countries at the top of this figure have the most deaths proportionally to their COVID-19 cases or population, not necessarily the most death overall, right? So check this out. Check this out. Right? Let's check this out. Okay. Let's get to the numbers. Cases and mortality by country. All right. I want you to keep an eye on this. Let's go down to America. Okay. United States. Let me show you what the first column is. The first column is confirmed cases, the number of deaths, case fatality ratio. That means the amount of people that have cases of coronavirus confirmed and the amount of deaths from that, the ratio between the two. And deaths per 100,000 K in the 100K in the population, right? Here's the United States. Check it out. 1.6% is the ratio between cases and deaths. Okay. All right. We're going to stop right there. We're going to stop right there. All right. Oh, you want the link? My bad. Let me get it. Let me get it for you. Here's the link to this. And again, before y'all share and post it, read all the content there in case somebody tries to challenge you on the data contained on that website. All right. The key thing is, again, we don't have to, you love Yah, click the link in the description and you'll get the donation details for that. All right. But we don't have to resort to conspiracy theories. We use their own sources to make our case. This is why our letters are so effective. We affirm our religious beliefs. We pull out statistics in regards to this virus and say it's not justifiable for me to get vaccinated based on these statistics and the high rate of recovery from the infection of COVID-19 or COVID-19 is a disease, coronavirus you get infected by, right? And then from there, you go into these statistics, plaster it, then go to say, hey, if you honor this for me, this is what I will do in return. I will be responsible and make sure that I mask, social distance, quarantine if I'm sick, make sure that I test as frequently as I can, go see my primary care physician, put myself on a health regimen to ensure I get my 100% daily value percentage of all vitamins and minerals and nutrients that I need to stay healthy and sustain me through this epidemic, that if I am sick, I will quarantine at home and I won't come back to work unless I'm tested and I'm deemed to be negative, etc. All these things you do in conjunction with that, and then you seal it off with a notarization. And then you give it to your job. All right. Tracy Ace, yes, it is. Also, it's there. All right. So at the end of the day, I'm against choice or the hindrance of choice, where they put barriers between you and your divine right of choice that is acknowledged by the Constitution. right? And other things as well on the work in your place of work. That's protected by Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the EEOC guidelines. All right. You see the same guidelines show up in the Department of Labor, OSHA guidelines as well. There are things that your job have to have in place to protect you as being part of the unvaccinated populace at that job. And all of this is in the letter. Again, free game. I give it to y'all. We add our letterhead on it, put our backing behind it. You assume full liability of all the affirmations within. And if they ask you for additional information and or a religious leader or a religious scholar to back up your beliefs and the affirmations of not only your religious disposition, but also the statistics contained therein, we got your back. And I have to work on a couple of more as I close this off in preparation for Monday for more people we helping get through this. So all praise to the Most High. He gets all glory for any success that we get out of this. Any failures, it's still a lesson that Yah has shown us. So we know how to adapt and adjust to this war that's being waged on us. And no matter how many battles that we may win or lose, ultimately, Yah's going to win the war on our behalf. All praise to the Most High. All right. So with that being said, family, thank you for watching. We just hit 2 hours and 30 minutes. I appreciate y'all for your support. All right. If there's anything else we can do for you as a ministry, email us at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. If you want to support us via your donations, all the details are scrolling across the screen and they are in the description below. Also, if you want to follow us on other forms of social media, those details are in the description below as well. And last but not least, I want y'all to download the Dash app, $H. All right. I'm going to show it to y'all and use referral code RONS35. All right. The reason why this is important because it helps you save money or give you cash back outside of your bank card or in conjunction with your bank card that you get from day-to-day purchases. All right. Let me show it to y'all real quick. All right. And all those details is in the description below. And if you use our referral code, we do get a percentage from that. And you are generated a referral code from that, which you can share with everybody else. It's completely free. Download the app, sign up for it, attach your debit cards to it, and then use it on your day-to-day purchases. There's no fees or nothing like that. You get money just from using your card at these places from being signed up from there. I made almost $800 just from using my card from place to place with Dash and through referrals. Just money on the side. And this is passive, not even active, right? You can do the same. All right. So this is what Dash looks like. And again, my details for referral, Ron S35 is in the description below. All right. This is it right here. This is what it looks like over here. Dash. Let me zoom in. This is it over here. All right. And all of this is free to sign up. Cash back. You go to GNC, Sephora, the places that you typically shop at, restaurants, streaming services online, whatever the case may be, you get free cash back just from using a card that's connected with Dash passively. You make money back. It's like a discount that you get over time. And it actually teaches you investments in yielding and returns. Another conversation altogether. All right. So again, Ron S35 is my referral code. And once you go through the process to set up Dash with the referral code, you will be provided with a referral code and you can do the same. Either you refer to other people and you make $10 off of each referral, or you just use it for day-to-day purchases from Walmart and other places as well. You get money back, and every time you tap out at 25, you can withdraw or let it sit there as a piggy bank. Like one time I let it sit there until it got about $300, and then I had a need and I said, let me withdraw it. Withdrew $300 out of standard purchases that I was already doing. I got money back, saved $300 and use it to pay a bill. And you can do the same. All right. Whatever we can do to skim off from this society, to put extra money back in our pocket to make us more fiscally responsible and more economically savvy and making purchases. Here's one avenue in which to commit that. All right. All right. So I'll put it in the chat. That's my code, Ron S35. It's also in the description below. And please sign up for that and also get your code, share with others, and just use your card day to day. Get the money back. Leave it as a piggy bank. Don't even take nothing out from it unless you need it and it's an emergency. Let it build up, because one day you'll see you have $1,000 in that just from shopping from day to day. And say, man, I made $1,000 for referring this and just for shopping. Didn't have to pay no fees or nothing else. It's free to sign up. Yes, and you got money back. And this is not like, oh, they give you gift cards back. No. They give you cash back, real cash back. The same way you get it when you use your debit card from Chase, Bank of America, Citibank, Capital One, etc. Same thing you do with Dosh. You just connect it to your bank card. So your bank card also, if you're not aware, you have cash back offers from your bank. I have Chase and Bank of America, right? I get money back every week from purchases that I make because I go in and I sign up for the various offers from the various partners that they have. And when I go and I patronize these vendors and these merchants, I get cash back. So not only do I get cash back through my bank, I get cash back through Dosh, and these things just pile up. And then what I've done before, I took $100 of those dollars and I put it in the stock market. Money that I wasn't even thinking about. It was there. I took it and I just put it through the stock market. And I did $5 stocks, and they also have what's called penny stocks from the Cash app. And I bought some stocks through that from the money that I got through cash back from the bank and through Dosh. Little things like that you can do side to side. These things are helpful to get you economically further than where you're at currently just by passively doing the work. All right. So again, anything I do to help the family, I'm here to do it. Thank y'all for watching. Let me go ahead and settle out, calm the house down. I appreciate y'all for rocking out with us almost 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully something we said here was beneficial and contributory to your walk. And if there's anything we can do to help you, you have the contact information here scrolling across. Please continue to support this ministry so we can keep having these sessions, bringing forth more information and resources for you to be autonomous in your learning and development. And we will continue to give Yah glory through the works that we perform to bring others to him. Thank you for watching. Cancel Halloween. For those who are the children of the Most High Yah, get back to your ancestral customs and practices, which puts you in alignment with Yah and covenant with Yah, so you can get the provisions, protections, and everything else that comes along with being a child of Yah, rightful heir of the Most High statute, laws, and commandments, because he has given his word to Jacob, and only Israel has he known. Does Yah know you? Do you know him? And if so, then his Rapha essence can abide over you, and he can heal you from your brokenheartedness, from your depression, from your sickness or ailment. This is what he promises to do for those who are faithful to his statute, his laws, and his commandments. Don't let anybody or any religion or any institution or any government separate you from the love of Yah. And with that, I bold y'all. Thank you for watching. Peace and shalom, family. Shalom, shalom.